socks off?
Why does that make you laugh?
Because that was like the first scripted moment on Bledsoe Said So ever.
What was?
Me saying that when I was like, hit record.
Oh, really?
It didn't feel very good, to be honest.
Well, you scripted it for yourself.
I know, and it sucked.
I was gonna.
I was laughing at myself, dude.
Yeah.
Vitriol.
Very humble of you.
Yeah.
I was gonna start this episode with one of my favorite quotes from Dune, and I don't remember if it's in the book or if it's just in the movie, but dreams are messages from the deep. Mic drop.
We should probably throw a huge.
You want to end it there?
Alert on, yeah. Let's tie it up.
Did you say you want to end it?
Yeah. I mean,
bye, guys.
No, we should do a huge spoiler on this one.
Yeah, we should.
Because
it
is. I guess the movie is new.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Someone here hasn't seen it. I'm trying to
So
figure
at
out
this
who
point,
that
when
is.
did Dune come out, bro? I'm confused. But no, November, right?
Oh, the movie?
Yeah. Did it come out in
No,
November?
October.
Okay, so this episode will air in December, but it's November right now. We all just watched Dune, so we're a little late on the game. But as we're recording, it's like super relevant. And if you have not yet seen Dune, to which I will reply like, are you hanging out with Patrick under a rock, dude?
We're about to spoil the whole thing.
We're about to discuss that movie
in depth.
This whole episode.
So it is a novel from 1965. So you have had a little bit of time.
A little bit, but to be fair, no one's ever heard of it until like last week.
Come on, that's not true.
Hey, I mean, at least for me.
Yeah.
What's up, Alex? You got your hand up?
You
never heard of it?
Yeah.
Oh, me either, dude. So full disclosure, because you've read the books, right?
My wife just like randomly bought me the book like 2 or 3 years ago, and then like a month later, I found out they're making it a feature film.
I do remember you telling me about it for years, but in my head, I was like, Dune? Like, I go to the beach and I see dunes. That's the dumbest thing I've ever... Because I live at the beach, right? So I'm like, why would I want to read something called Dune? That's so dumb. And then you were telling me, like, it's going to be made a movie, and I'm like, cool, I guess. But I don't want... Like, I've never seen The Hunger Games. I've never seen the Divergent books. I've never seen... Like, I've never really seen movie books other than...
You've never seen the Divergent books?
You know what I mean, dude. The movies. Jesus.
I can see the anger in your eyes.
You know what I mean? The only like freaking movies about a book that I've really seen that I haven't read is Lord of the Rings. You know, I just don't do that. I don't watch movies that a book is based on unless I've read the book because I'm like, I don't care. I don't understand the hype. But full disclosure. So Nick pressured me to watch Dune, and a positive pressure, by the way, not in like a bad way. I don't mean it that way.
I know.
Like you were like, watch Dune. It's gonna blow your mind. And then my cousin Lee, shout out Lee.
Shout out.
Also, love him to death. He's super into Dune, dude. He's read the books. Like, he was telling me the same thing. Like, bro, you need to watch Dune. You need to watch Dune. And I was like, I get it. I watched
We're telling
Dune.
you for a reason.
Yes. I watched Dune, and I walked out of that theater, and I said, this is an episode. This, in my opinion, is right up there on that plaque beside 2001: A Space Odyssey. Is that crazy?
I was the one that said that to you.
Oh, that's right. You did say that.
I told you that was actually probably the thing that I said to get you to watch it.
Yeah.
Because
I don't even remember, dude.
Because if the listeners remember, that was another thing that I tried to get Ryan to watch for years was 2001. He finally watched it. It blew his mind wide open, became one of his favorite movies.
Yeah.
And so, after I saw Dune, because I've been hype about it for years.
Yeah.
Ever since I found out they were
I've been hype about it for a week.
Yeah. But so we went and saw it in the theaters like the opening night and was so pumped. And I dragged a bunch of my friends. Might sound bad if I say I drugged a bunch of my friends.
Yeah, that sounds really bad, dude. You start to sound like Bill Cosby.
Oh my God.
Is that inappropriate? I'm sorry.
No. I dragged a bunch of my friends with me to go see it, fully thinking like, oh, everyone with me is going to hate this movie.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I'm just full disclosure, I had to restart it like 3 times. I would get like 2 chapters in and I'd be like, I have no idea what's happening. The writing style is pretty.
It's like 1,000 pages, right?
Yeah, it's a big one, but it's not necessarily the length, or it's like nothing. Like half the book is not even English. It's like all these made up terms.
What do you mean? Oh, okay,
dude.
Okay. Like the lore.
Kwisatz Haderach, Bene Gesserit, freaking Lisan Al Gaib. Like,
hey, is it true that Star Wars is inspired by Dune?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to get that on there. What?
Game of Thrones.
That makes sense.
Game of Thrones, like George R. R. Martin is
Really?
super open about like he says my biggest inspiration for Game of Thrones was Dune.
Bro, that's all Dune is. This is like Star Wars, Game of Thrones. That makes
literally
perfect
that's
sense.
all it is. Think about it. What is it? It's a bunch of political houses in conflict.
Yeah.
That's
in space.
In space. That's I mean, that's what it is. But anyway, yeah, I dragged a bunch of friends along with me, fully expecting they would hate it, or because it just is really weird and really out there, and there's all these. It's a pretty complex sci-fi story. It's not Star Wars. Star Wars
is campy.
It's very like palatable. Star Wars is easy to digest.
Yeah.
To me, reading Dune for the first time, like I said, I had to restart it multiple times. It was not very easy for me to digest at first. Then, luckily, a few times after restarting it, I just kind of caught my stride and barreled through the whole thing in like a month or two and loved every second of it. But yeah, fully and believe it or not, everyone that I took to the movie when we left was like, that was amazing.
Dude, honestly, it's in like my top 5 all-time films. Like if I had to say right now off the top of my head, it'd be like Matrix, Dune, freaking The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, 2001: A Space Odyssey, maybe like one of the Star Wars films. Like Dune is instant cult classic to me.
I completely agree. And yeah, I had high expectations going into the film because the director, Denis Villeneuve, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it.
I'll excuse it.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. He did Blade Runner 2049.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm about to make you
That's
so
another
disappointed in me.
Mind blow. Don't
Say it.
Don't say it. Are you about to tell me you've never seen Blade Runner?
I've never seen any of them.
Well, me neither.
Oh my!
But that's expected.
Who put me in the room with these people? I'm just kidding. I don't like to do that thing anymore. But
I'm just kidding. But secretly, you're like boiling.
But secretly, I'm boiling.
You're judging me. I'm not nerd enough.
No.
I thought I was the king nerd. You said that in a previous episode.
Yeah, I'm taking.
I've never
it
even
back.
seen Blade Runner.
I take it back. No, I'm gonna be totally honest. Blade Runner's a little bit of a deep cut to some people, I guess. Like it's extremely popular. It's Ridley Scott. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah,
now
dude.
I have to watch
Yes,
it, dude.
you
I
do,
love
yes.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, it's a Ridley Scott movie. It's fantastic, but it's not Star Wars. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's not like I don't consider it quite as popular as those. I would say Blade Runner is more of a cult classic.
Yeah, it's big though.
But Blade Runner 2049, first of all, is probably the most visually beautiful movie I've ever seen, and then it was truly like a pure sequel. Like it was such an incredible sequel. And you could tell that like the director just cared so deeply about it. So
that guy did Dune.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And Dune is his favorite novel of all time. And they got not Howard Shore, but what's the director? Oh, Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer was the composer. He did the music for Dune. And Dune is literally his dream project.
That's crazy because that like song in Dune is so viral. It's all over TikTok. Have you seen the trends?
Oh, the one that's like
yeah.
It's
everywhere.
It's an incredible. It's such a crazy sound. Actually, so to drop our first little piece of esotericism on this bad boy, the whole thought behind that song, dude, when I'm obsessed with something, I'm truly obsessed, and I dive so deep and watch all the interviews and like I consume all the info I can. So I've done that with Dune now.
Yeah.
And Hans Zimmer.
I'm like that with crystals. I'm just kidding.
The smirk on your face when you said that, dude.
I can't keep this up any longer, dude. I'm on fumes with the crystal references here, dude. Like, when is this going to end?
It's all in your control, buddy.
I tried to kill it and you got mad at me.
Yeah, and I will get mad if you try to kill it again. So what I'm telling you now is you have to keep it up.
He's pigeonholed himself.
Yeah. You made this bed. Now lie in it. That's what I'm telling you.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Now that I have my literal Rosicrucian manual about the vibrational science behind crystals, we're doing a crystals episode. But anyway, back to Dune.
Check this out. This is our first little piece of esotericism in Dune. Hans Zimmer said the whole reason behind that song, that it's like a woman like singing like a very Middle Eastern, almost Arabic sounding kind of thing. It plays that music when Paul is having like a powerful spiritual awakening, because it is the divine feminine energy in him awakening.
What is that, like the reason behind?
Yes.
Are you serious, dude?
Yes, 100%.
Is that kind of stuff in the book?
Yes, dude.
What?
Ryan,
dude,
hold
you
on.
gave me chills.
Hold
bro.
on.
I've never read the book. Dude.
No.
Don't judge.
But it's in the movie. It's in the movie.
But they don't like mention the divine feminine.
You're right. They totally don't.
But but like that is a concept in the book.
That's one of the. I would say that's one of the top 3.
Someone better buy me this damn book.
Oh, dude, I'll buy it for you for Christmas.
Please do.
I will. That's like one of the main themes of Dune is like divine feminine energy. Think about the Bene Gesserit. They're literally an organization entirely female. They're all female. They're not allowed to birth men. And the grandmother, I forget her name, but the
wait. Explain very briefly what the Bene Gesserit are. They're like witches, right?
Yeah, they're basically clairvoyant witches who they can like see into the future, and they're like prophets kind of, and they write these prophecies, and it's all they have this prophecy.
They speak the voice, and they can like mind control people.
Yeah, they have like
super sick when they do it in the movie.
So cool. They have these wild telekinetic powers. Is it telekinetic?
I don't know.
They can basically mind control people. They can talk to people and influence them with their words. It's in the very beginning of the movie when Paul wakes up and his mom like makes him do that. Keep in mind, I went into Dune blind. Yeah, you knew nothing about it.
I didn't research it. I watched the trailer like once a year ago or whatever.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about this freaking movie. I thought I was going to be bored out of my damn mind. Matter of fact, I was tired that day after work. I tried to talk Jenny out of going to watch it. I was like, do you want to just stay here? And I'm so tired. And she was like, no, we need to go. I went in blind, dude. And in that scene, when, obviously in the very beginning, the voice like loudly in the theater says,
it scared me.
Dreams are messages from the deep. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then the scene when Paul does the voice for the first time.
Yeah.
I knew right then and there, this movie's going to be lit.
They're sitting at a table, and Paul Atreides is the main character. He's like a young kid. I think in the book, he's like around like 17, maybe something like that. But his mom, he asks his mom, like, can you pass me the water? And she's like, make me do it. She's like, don't ask me, make me do it.
He's like, I just woke up, Mom.
Yeah, he's literally like, really? I just woke up. And she's like, do it. And he like tries and it doesn't work. She's like, no, you don't mean it. And then he gets real serious and looks at her. The thing that scared me is like you see his mouth move and he says like,
there's a delay.
Give me the water. And then like a second later you hear it. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but every time he uses the voice, it's a woman's voice.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's like multiple voices. Almost.
Yeah, there's multiple voices, but it's a woman's voice. It's
obviously,
all the divine
for
femininity.
the listener who hasn't seen the film, if you're still listening, you don't care to watch the movie. Essentially, like they have these abilities through higher levels of consciousness where they can manipulate other people's consciousness. But the way that they artistically show it in the movie is badass.
So cool.
It's mystical. It's beyond mystical.
It's literally word magic.
Like, it's word magic. Like, exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure you remember the Gom Jabbar scene, and you won't know that it's called that. Remember the scene with the box? Where she's like, put your right hand in the box. Yes. What's in the box?
Yes.
Pain. Yeah.
Pain.
Yeah.
Bro, this blew my mind, dude. How did he overcome the pain? Remember when, so for the listener,
Wait. We're going too fast. Hang on.
That blew my mind, dude.
We'll get there in a second. Let's start at the beginning of that scene. So basically, Paul is like this kid, and he's been hearing from his mom that she's been teaching him the way of this voice thing. He doesn't like fully know what exactly it is, but he knows it's very powerful. He comes face to face with the Bene Gesserit, which is like, literally like a religion of witches who they, use this voice thing. So this is where this power comes from. And he's like, his mom like pulls him out of bed in the middle of the night, and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, basically just telling him, just like, remember your training. I can't tell you anything, but you got to go into this room right now. And he's like, what's going on? and he goes into the room, and like one of the Reverend Mothers, which is like the elders of the Bene Gesserit, she's in there, and the first thing that she says is like, get over here, but she uses the voice.
Yeah.
Dude, if you watch him, he like passes out and is dragged across the floor.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
he's not like, it's not like he like walks over there on his, he's like, he like passes out and literally like floats across the room.
He's like, he's dragged.
It is quite literally like the most powerful depiction of word magic possible. Like, you literally are speaking things into existence instantaneously. But yeah, so
and naturally it's exaggerated because it's fiction.
Yeah, of course.
But the whole purpose of us discussing Dune in the first place is because this movie, in my opinion, next to 2001: A Space Odyssey, as you get deeper into the film, it probably, like, shot for shot has the most genuinely true esoteric concepts displayed in a film. I don't think we've mentioned that part yet, but that's why we chose Dune. Like, there is so much truth packed into this movie. It's in my opinion, it's like the Age of Aquarius movie right now.
Yeah, basically every single
concept is true
in Dune is some deep metaphysical new age shit. Like
yeah,
some real deep shit. Even down to, if you guys are listening now, I'm sure you probably caught our last episode about hell, which was largely focused on overcoming fear. That's one of the, if not the biggest theme in Dune, is that Ryan said it earlier. Fear is the mind killer.
It's like what I gather from the film. Someone who doesn't know the book, someone who doesn't know the lore. He has these like prophecies. He has these dreams, right? And like throughout the movie, it artistically represents his prophecies changing. And like what I got from it, the driving premise was every moment that he was in fear, he would have these prophecies that he was going to fail.
Yep.
And as the movie went on, he was like altering the course to walk closer and closer to his destiny as he shed his fear at every step.
Check. That's actually,
and it doesn't say that.
Well, I mean, it kind of indirectly,
it shows it.
Right. It indirectly does, because in that room, when he's with the Reverend Mother, she asks him, do you have dreams that happen exactly the way that you dream them? And he said, not always.
Yeah.
And then it shows you, like, it'll show him have a vision or a dream of something that does come true, and then it'll show him in moments where he's in fear, it'll show him have visions that later in the movie are
totally
not true.
Different.
They end up happening completely differently. But so yeah, back to the Gom Jabbar scene. The Gom Jabbar is the name of the needle she sticks to his neck.
Oh, right.
Remember
right.
that?
Yeah.
Because, okay, so this is what happens. We're basically just like recapping the movie, which I love. I love it. So she tells him, put your right hand in the box. There's like a box sitting next to her. So she's like, put your right hand in the box. And he's like, okay, what's in the box? And she says, pain. And she's like, I'm testing you. The test is simple. And she holds a needle to his neck, which interestingly enough looks very similar to like an old religious pithing needle where they would do like bloodletting rituals and shit. Really?
Never heard of that.
Yeah. Really wild shit. It's actually a Magic the Gathering card, pithing needle. But,
oh, nice.
Yeah. But it's like bloodlet, like in old blood rituals and shit. They would bloodlet with a pithing needle.
Right. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So she holds the needle to his neck and she's like, the test is simple. If you remove your hand from the box, you die. This is a poisonous needle. Like, I stick it in your neck for half a second, you're dead, basically, before anybody could get into this room. Outside the door, his mother is waiting and she's in like this silent panic. She's like freaking out. Like, you could tell she's at her complete wit's end, crippled in fear, and she's shaking. And as the test goes on, Paul puts his hand in the box. It's the most searing pain imaginable to a human being that he's experiencing. And he's losing it. He's like really starting to freak out and lose it. And outside, his mom starts repeating this mantra, this fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings obliteration.
Yeah.
And she says, I will allow my fear to pass over me, not through me. And then she says, and when the fear is gone, I am all that remains. Only I remain.
You know what's the craziest part we haven't even mentioned, dude?
What?
This witch lady was like testing get past all the lore. This is just what happens. She's like testing to see if he's the Messiah.
She literally is.
Didn't even mention that part yet.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Turns out, spoiler alert, obviously, he's like the freaking Messiah.
There's a prophecy. Well, Ryan, you only saw the first movie. You don't know.
Well, that's what I gathered from the first movie. That's true. Yeah. That's a good point. There might be others that he has to contend with. I can't wait to find out.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So they have this ancient prophecy that there's going to be this chosen male which they're all female again. There's going to be a chosen male Bene Gesserit, which will basically bring peace to all the universe by bridging space and time. They don't really go any more into it in this movie, but they will in the future one. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody who has seen this movie but hasn't read the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, his mom is outside repeating this mantra, and as she is saying it, her body is calming, her speech is calming. She's like gathering her composure, like as she's reciting this mantra, and it's happening to Paul inside the room too. It was a really cool artistic way of showing like he's reciting that in his head too, because she has taught him that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the whole reason that the Bene Gesserit, the Reverend Mother came to see Paul in the first place was because he started having these prophetic dreams, which is one of the things that is said in the prophecy about like the chosen one, which they call the Kwisatz Haderach. Which that's basically their term for the chosen one or whatever. So yeah, that's already a very like Taoist, Buddhist, like
and Christian
Messiah,
yeah, chosen one.
Oh no, I was more so commenting on the like triumph over fear thing.
Oh sure.
Like
I was just saying there's like Christian / Islamic elements. With the Messiah angle.
I would say
like there's Eastern mysticism, there's Western mysticism. Like this covers it all.
It really does cover it
now,
all.
The mind-blowing part about that scene, bro, is I thought of this while I was watching the film, is at the end of that part, and like he passes the test, remember?
Yeah,
she doesn't kill him. And she says, either to him or to the mother, I can't remember, but the witch lady literally says, like, well, he passed the test and he learned to overcome his animal instincts, which is what, allowed him to master his fear. Let me take you back. Do you remember in episode 11 of our podcast, A Soul Odyssey, and then once again in episode 12, where we discussed the scene in 2001, A Space Odyssey, where the guy, millions of years in the future, remember the monkey type people? Yeah. They're gripping and stroking the obelisk, the phallus. But remember the man in the future, after millions of years of evolution, he learned to overcome his animal instincts.
Right.
He touched it and he pulled his hand back. He was ready for higher states of consciousness. I said that and y'all were like, where are you going with this? What's your angle? That's the angle.
The Reverend Mother says, he says, why test me? And she says, to see if you could overcome your animal instincts, because if you couldn't, we could never trust you with this much power.
That's the secret to higher states of consciousness.
Yeah, she straight up says it. She's like, we could not afford to trust somebody who would give in to their animal.
See what I'm saying, Alex? This movie is packed full of esoteric knowledge, bro. It's insane. That's some Rosicrucian Freemason shit. Like, remember what we talked about in super esoteric anime when the 5-pointed star is pointed up? It's that eternal spiraling consciousness upwards towards spirit, but when it's pointed down, it's spiraling towards the base human animal-like nature.
Yeah.
What Dune's just told you right there. How do you become like Paul? How do you reach those higher states of consciousness and overcome your fear? You overcome your own animal instincts. Whatever your vices are. And look, let's make it more realistically applicable to life. Like, I have a vice. I face that vice head on. I overcome it. Simple as that. Like we all have our own karmic lessons that we came here and incarnated into this life to overcome. I think that's what that's saying. Anyway, tangent, but.
Well, yeah. And I mean, there's also tons of religions that where like in order to reach spiritual awakening, you have to, get rid of your animal impulses.
It's literally Buddhism.
That's what monks do.
It's like Joke Chen, Rainbow Body.
Well, what I was going to say was this whole episode is like some weird movie Shark Tank where y'all are just like trying to get me to buy in and watch it.
Pretty much. Yeah. That's the secret purpose behind this episode is Alex, we're trying to pitch the film to Alex because he will not watch it. I've been begging him for a week.
he's a hardcore contrarian. He does not like to indulge in things that people recommend to
Bro,
him.
I showed you Joker. I showed you 2001. You loved him.
Facts.
I did.
I
But
told
I'll
you about
never.
Bebop,
You haven't said anything. I watched that on my own time. Okay.
but I told you about it.
yeah. Okay.
I have good taste.
Yeah. But I'm saying here
And I
right
got you a
now
tobacco pipe.
in the.
That's
you
irrelevant.
did. Irrelevant, but a
It's
good
totally
gift.
irrelevant. Yeah.
Completely irrelevant to Dune. I'm never gonna watch Squid Games.
What does that have to do with Dune, though?
Nothing. I'm just
I never
I'm
told you to
telling
watch that,
everybody
did I?
right now. I'm never gonna watch it.
Did I ever tell you to watch
Well,
that?
you're
I'm never gonna-
depriving yourself of a
It is
fantastic
super
show.
good. Yo, you could do a whole episode of Bledsoe Said So on Squid Game.
You
Well, we're
think so?
not.
Yeah, dude, that's esoteric as shit, dude. This is not that episode. But
Okay, yeah,
trust me,
we'll
dude.
talk about it.
Bro,
maybe
the symbols are literally a square, a triangle, and a circle. That's the Philosopher's Stone, and it's all about like the game ends when the majority decides it's over. It's like consensus reality,
Oh my
conscious
gosh.
matrix.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Maybe we should do an episode.
Dude, they're a cult, bro.
Yeah, you're right.
That
Yeah.
show is so
We
esoteric.
totally could. Dude.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so you know what the funny thing is? All this like deep esoteric shit we're talking about in Dune, like we haven't even gotten past Caladan yet. Like
we haven't even gotten to the premise of the film.
Yeah,
It's about a psychedelic.
this all happens in the first 20 minutes
Yeah.
of the movie. Everything that we've described
Yo,
thus
the
far.
funniest part of the movie is that the only way they can travel through space is through a psychedelic. Like, come on,
Yeah.
bro. That's like Project Stargate and all the people I knew in the CIA. They all were like blasting off an ayahuasca and having these vision quests and remote viewing and shit. Dune laid it out flat for you, man. The only way they travel through space is through spice.
Yeah,
It's psychedelic.
dude, I want to tell you so bad what the Kwisatz Haderach is.
Do not.
Okay.
I genuinely want to read this.
Okay. Yeah.
And I
I'll
don't
let
mean
you know.
Steven Universe read this. I mean, I really,
My
truly.
blood's boiling.
Hey, I'm still watching it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm proud
Out
of
of
you.
a courtesy to you, I'm still pacing myself through it.
Proud of you. Okay.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's like I enjoy it. But Dune,
yeah.
I'm obsessed, dude.
You haven't gotten to the point yet in Steven Universe where you're gonna love it.
Exactly.
You'll get there.
Yeah,
soon.
I'm only like 20 something episodes in.
Yeah, you'll get there very soon. Anyway, back to Dune. Yeah, so you know, this kid Paul is getting this from the Bene Gesserit and all these people telling him he's some messiah, he could be some chosen one. He's like he doesn't really know what to think. Basically, their entire life, he's like a royal. Basically,
He's like the son of a duke. Yeah,
a duke. And
he's like the heir to his family's throne, basically.
yeah, and in this universe, it's like 20,000 years in the future. Like dukes basically control an entire planet.
Yeah.
And so his family gets uprooted from their home planet of Caladan and basically sent to the planet Arrakis, which is a desert planet. And that's why in the book, they like the nickname for Arrakis is Dune. Funny enough, like I think they only say the word Dune once in the movie.
Yeah.
And it was the Baron Harkonnen, like the main bad guy who says it.
Oh, the dude that floats.
Yeah.
The nasty freaking blob.
That was such an incredible portrayal, by the way. Like that is spot on. You should see what the one from 1984 looks like.
I have. I've been
it's
watching videos of the
horrible.
1984 movie, and it's honestly terrible.
Yeah.
I still want to watch it, but like it looks pretty bad
Yeah.
compared.
But yeah, so the next like big esoteric concept in Dune is like Ryan said, there's a hugely psychedelic like kind of spin to the story. And in fact, even Denny,
It's like half the story, bro.
well, it truly is the
Like
entirety.
literally, you know, his powers don't truly awaken until he trips on spice. Which I gotta be honest with you, bro. When I saw that, I was like, I'm very curious. I mean, I've already grown up psychic and shit.
There you go.
And like, I'm really curious what would happen
If you take
if I accidentally ate a little magic mushroom. What might happen?
accidentally,
What might happen?
you think
dude?
you ever will?
Yeah.
Cool.
Eventually, for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to be there. That'd be really sick. That'd be really, really cool. No, I mean, it would. I've done them. Full disclosure, I've done mushrooms. It was a really, really cool time.
Yeah.
It was super, super like mind opening. And also, I've told Ryan,
You know what's funny, man? Didn't you do the mushrooms last year?
yeah, almost.
And we're doing this now together.
You know what's funny? It's like exactly a year ago.
I know.
I did it the day I did mushrooms for the first time a year ago. It was literally the day before Thanksgiving. And
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
And you know what's the funny part about that, dude? Is for close to a year. I mean, I'm only saying this because we've been talking about it, but it's almost been like you would say maybe a year that you had borderline zero anxiety and depression.
Yeah, I actually after taking mushrooms for the first time. For those of you that don't know, the active the psychoactive in mushrooms is called psilocybin, and it's been used for actually I think over a decade, or maybe it might even be much more than that. But it's used commonly in micro doses to treat anxiety and depression long term.
Yeah.
So there are people that, go to the doctor and get like a micro dose of psilocybin, and for a year straight they'll be good. It also is largely used in reconciliation with like existential dread and
PTSD, which I definitely have, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's why
I
initially
think it could be really beneficial.
that's why I'm kind of drawn to it, because it's like, dude, especially growing up extreme Christianity in the South, like, and in my family, this, I'm not going to say any sort of names or anything.
Sure.
But in my family in particular, there have been relatives of mine who have passed away from drug addiction, and I grew up with a very heavy stigma towards anything that was like illegal.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it was like, psychedelics are bad because it's illegal. I'll never do that. It's drugs. You know what I mean? But as I'm getting older, I'm coming to understand, like, maybe big pharma, like maybe I shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe big pharma is saying things like magic mushrooms are nasty, evil, and scary, when in reality they're pushing us all these synthetic pills that really are just like putting a little Band-Aid on our psychological issues, and they're not really healing us. But when you look on the research on mushrooms, and again, I've never done them. I've talked to friends like you and others who have done them, but I've never done them. All I know is what I've read, right?
Yeah,
but what I've read, not what I've felt like you felt, but what I have read is that the clinical research supports that psilocybin is literally the most powerful chemical on planet Earth to treat depression and anxiety, and it is more powerful than any pharmaceutical. So in my mind, it's like,
well, hey, check this out. I was on what was it? Sertraline, which is like basically Zoloft. It's an SSRI antidepressant.
right.
I was on that for about 2 years, I think, and I took mushrooms, and almost immediately I would take my sertraline and have negative effects.
Oh, shoot.
It would have negative effects on me.
Right.
It was like a switch flipped. And listen, I'm not like encouraging people to stop taking their SSRIs and start taking psychedelics. I'm just saying, in my experience, this is actually just what happened. The SSRIs were extremely helpful for me in managing my anxiety and depression. And then all of a sudden I did mushrooms, and I found that they started to have negative effects on me. And then I weaned myself off of them and found that I felt even better when I weaned off of them. I suddenly felt even better than when I was taking them, like at my best.
Really?
Absolutely. And that is actually what encouraged me to start doing the research on the mushrooms, because I was like, is it even possible that this could have like some long-term
And then
effects?
you find out there's like literally tons of clinical research.
Absolutely.
Trials that show that it is more powerful than any big pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy,
so
dude.
I'm not an expert for sure, but what I'm pretty sure it does is it rewrites
Yes.
paths in your brain, like neuron paths. So instead of firing on the same ones you've been firing on, it goes, hey, it either repairs or finds a new path, kind of essentially rewriting your brain.
Yo, literally, I read this word for word in like a clinical research trial. The studies they showed, and they did this by like hooking up EEG meters to the brain and measuring, electrochemical activity firing in neural pathways. They determined that when you consume psilocybin, it literally, based on brainwave patterns, causes your consciousness to become more fractal.
What does that mean scientifically?
Scientifically, they noticed that when people take psilocybin, we have these probability reality tunnels. Every day we go through the same habits, right? Our unconscious mind, we have these beliefs in here that cause us to have the same thoughts, the same actions, the same habits and patterns. We wake up, we brush our teeth, eat breakfast, whatever, go to work, go home. It's the same thing every day, right?
Yeah.
Your brain over time is just reinforcing those signals firing in your neurons. When you take mushrooms, they can physically measure through devices, your pathways are expanding.
So that's what you mean by fractal. It's that like you begin to think differently.
Like more advanced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's like literally they measure through electrochemical activity that the neurons are opening new doorways, so to speak, in your brain to think more out of the box, have more creativity, problem solving. Like it's literally beneficial to human consciousness to consume it. And that's why I'm curious in the first place. There's clinical data behind this. Yo, Loki, I have a kind of like a prediction.
Loki, great show.
Loki, amazing show. We got to do a premium episode on that, dude.
Oh yeah,
like a whole episode on that. Oh my god! But Loki, I kind of have a prediction that as we get deeper into the age of Aquarius, I think maybe like mushrooms are going to play a major part in that, like legalizing throughout the country and more people having access to it.
Yeah, there's a huge standing theory that like mushrooms are what catapulted like early
Terrence McKenna.
Yeah.
It's called the Stoned Ape Theory. His whole theory was that's how consciousness catapulted in the first place. Was a
monkey took a mushroom?
Yeah, they ate mushrooms.
And started thinking. Basically, like started being, becoming like truly sentient and independently thinking. It's just a theory. It's not, it's not proven or anything.
Well, there are theories in esoteric circles that, potentially the sages of the ancient past, that's what they were doing to reach higher states. Now, again, I have not taken a psychedelic. I'm speaking from research here, right? But there are...
there's lots of religions that use psychedelics. Dude, that's
the theory.
Huge in India.
The theory is that the whole myth and ritual of death and rebirth is literally just a story about going on ego death. Now,
I could see that, and I had that when I took mushrooms. I definitely had an ego death, and I didn't like fully understand what exactly that meant when I heard it.
Right,
but like you are removed from yourself.
It's kind of something that like you scoff at.
Yeah, you're like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what is that?
But you're kind of like gently removed from yourself. Because I didn't take a ton. I took like 2 mushrooms, which is not like a crazy amount.
Yeah,
I know people who take them by the handful. It's like it's a little nuts. But I took what's considered like a very mild amount. But yeah, I was very like gently kind of pulled from myself and shown like you're just like everything else around you. Like you're literally the same as everything else around you. It was almost kind of like
you were one.
Yeah, it was like kind of out of body. But that's kind of like what it showed me. Yeah, but I mean, dude, you and I know people who, and obviously we won't say any names, just not sure if they want the info out there, but we know people who we would have previously characterized as like extremely kind of caught in the same motions,
right?
Not very motivated, just kind of there, just kind of.
Right,
I would say depressed. I would
definitely.
I would categorize that
depressed,
as probably severely depressed, and like a great person otherwise, like an amazing person, but
intelligent,
very extremely intelligent.
If we're talking about the same person,
of course,
which I think
we are. But and then that person had an experience with psilocybin, and it was like every negative aspect of their life was flipped.
His life 180.
180.
I watched this happen.
It went from like didn't have a job for a while, not a lot of motivation, to immediately after taking mushrooms getting a solid job, taking care of business, like being so much happier and more engaging, more social, like not as nowhere near as nervous. Like it was really a beautiful thing to witness. So that is like, that's a tangible example right there of your neural pathways being rewritten. It almost like pinpointed some of the negative aspects of that person's psyche or that person's brain, and fixed them.
Now, my whole thing here is I believe there's a few pathways to ego death, Then and now here I'm going to talk from insight.
Okay.
Now I think the first pathway. I'm not saying go and jump the pull the trigger and do these things. I'm just saying listen for a second.
Yeah.
First pathway I believe is psychedelics. People do DMT, they do mushrooms, they do acid, LSD, whatever, and they have these ego. Now on the flip side, not going to say this individual's name as well, but it's a very close friend of ours. Did acid.
Yeah.
Was traumatized.
Yeah, like actually.
Was literally diagnosed with PTSD. Now, I would say it was a net positive.
I would agree.
Over like a year
yeah, and I know who you're talking about, and look at that person now. The
best they've ever been.
Best they've ever been.
It was
their
a
life
net
around.
positive.
Yeah,
but during the trip, it was literal like torment of hell.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were in hell, but it was like the feeling was like I'm in hell.
They thought they were.
They didn't see fire and shit like that, but it was this individual had such a traumatic experience. He literally was diagnosed with PTSD. Now, over time, I have witnessed this person go from being like a classical fundamental Christian to being like a modern day like Neville Goddard. Like after taking acid.
Big thinker.
Yeah, big thinker, deep, like mystical, like shit that I've taken 10 years to research.
Yeah.
Like esoteric texts late at night, and I'm finding out this stuff. And he messaged me the other day, and he's like, he said something that the same thing your dad said the other day. Like, what if the story of Jesus is just the myth of like constant cycle of life, death, and rebirth? I'm like, are you kidding me? It took me 10 years to find that out, and all you had to do is take acid.
I mean, it really is wild. And I've only had that. I've never done acid. I don't know that I ever will.
I'm not interested, to be honest.
It's a little spooky to me. I know more people who have had negative experiences with that than mushrooms. Yeah,
it's like synthetic. To me, it's way more dangerous. Like LSD and acid are like the same thing, right?
They are, yeah.
Okay, that's what the CIA experimented with to like make
MK Ultra.
Yeah, like mind control slaves. Yeah, MK Ultra. That's just dangerous, dude. It could permanently rewrite your brain permanently.
And I guess it's arguable that like psilocybin might be more natural.
Yeah, it's a plant.
Yeah, I mean mostly. Like I think I could be wrong that there is some sort of. I mean, we're starting to get into some man-made psilocybin.
There is that.
Not psilocybin, but like alternatives.
Yeah.
But I would argue that some of these acid LSD alternatives are more dangerous than actual LSD.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can put yourself into a state of like permanent psychosis if you do it wrong. But like some of the things that get passed off on the street as LSD are probably more dangerous to a person than actual pure LSD, and that kind of goes with mostly all drugs.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, I think Dr. Drew said this, like no drug is inherently good or bad.
Yeah, it's just that's the first episode of the Midnight Gospel too. Remember?
Oh,
that's the whole print.
Oh
it's like a chemical is a chemical. It exists in nature.
And
it's
it was Dr. Drew
evil.
that said that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the, oh my God, dude. You just blew my mind. He's the guest in that episode.
He's the president. Remember, he's like the president with a shotgun killing zombies.
Yes, I remember. That's so funny.
That's
Thank
crazy.
you, Mr. President.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. He probably says that off Midnight Gospel as well.
He says it all the time.
That's so funny. But yeah, that's the premise of that episode. It's like
he's a big proponent of like all drugs should be legal. All of them should be legal.
It's like nothing in nature is inherently evil.
Right.
Now, naturally, the chemical might vibrate on an atomic level that might mess up our atomic structure and cause us serious harm.
And also, it should be said that, even people can abuse anything. You can abuse anything, even if it's thought to be inherently good.
So back to what you were saying. You were saying that there's ways to get there, and I can't remember.
Oh, the pathways to ego death?
Pathways to ego death.
First one is psychedelics,
I think I can predict the second one.
What is it?
Meditation.
Okay, that's one that I didn't think about, but we'll add that.
Okay,
absolutely.
But that's a lifelong that purely through meditation. I believe that would take a lifetime or many years of like guided practice from a master.
Well, so I don't know if this quote was about ego death specifically, but this reminded me of a quote, and that is that meditation is like a rake and psychedelics are like a leaf blower.
Damn. Okay. Ooh. Now, I was going to say this is number 2, but I guess I'll kick it to 3. You ready for this one?
Oh, yeah?
Trauma. which is what I went through as a kid, which is what I think caused my mind to be open to so much like out of the box phenomenon, from literally like having the government show up on my property since I've been a kid, seeing beings of light. I've literally had an entity stand in the room and touch me. That kind of shit will give you ego death fast, dude.
Do you think it was fear of those things that?
No, I just think I my intuition on this from experience, just like laying in bed, I have dreams about this all the time, but the trauma that I experienced with these beings as a child. I mean, I was 13. Your niece is what, 12?
Yeah.
Right? Could you imagine if this stuff was happening to her now?
No. Wild.
And, like, you remember you when you were 13, and I don't mean to be like boohoo, pity me, but it's just history, we're just telling the story.
No, it happened.
Yeah, it happened. And like when I was 13, I started seeing beings of light, and I think that did something to my brain in the developmental years of my life that caused me to think different. I didn't grow up necessarily needing an authority to tell me how to think or how to. I mean, you've known me. I've always been pretty rebellious. I've always kind of like trusted my own way of thinking because no one can tell me what I saw isn't real. I've seen it. You've seen it with me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've seen it 1,000 times. No one's gonna tell me that shit ain't real. I don't care if the biggest skeptic in the world got my face and like had millions of people laughing at me and thinking I was crazy. Whatever. They're wrong.
They haven't seen it.
They haven't seen it. I've seen it. I don't need external validation. We're doing this podcast not so I can be validated. We're doing this podcast so that we can teach as many souls as possible about this true phenomenon that the government is freaking lying about. In mass, they're trying to bring us into a negative state of collective consciousness. I don't care if people believe me. I saw it. It opened my mind. It in some way it kind of like destroyed my ego about needing validation for these kinds of experiences through profound trauma.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, psychedelics, when you have like a crazy psychedelic experience, just reading, stories on the internet here and talking to friends, isn't it kind of traumatic?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like shortcutting your trauma really quick, like condensed trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I don't know. I mean, this might, listen, I've literally done psychedelics one time ever. You know what I mean? I'm not an expert, but maybe ego death is akin to trauma in kind of a small way. Maybe
I think they're related.
Yeah, they're cousins, something like that. Yeah, I could totally see that. But yeah, psychedelics, in every person that I know personally, that who has done a psychedelic, it's just blows their mind wide open. They start thinking more deeply, and it's a really profound, difference. So, to bring it back to Dune.
I forgot we were talking about.
Yeah, we're ADHD guys. That's our obligatory time to say we're ADHD this episode.
I feel like that's getting as much airtime as Crystal references now.
Yeah, I know. No, but no, seriously. To bring it back, we mentioned earlier, Dune is largely based around psychedelics. So I just want to explain that real quick. So the main characters, the main family, the Atreides family, they are basically assigned from the Emperor a new post on the most valuable planet in all the universe.
To literally harvest the psychedelic.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, exactly. To harvest the psychedelic.
It's like the resource that funds the entire empire. Yeah, it's crazy.
So this is what it is. It's called spice. It's called the spice, or also known as melange. That's what the natives call it, melange. And what it actually is, I bet you might not know this, but okay. Here's spoiler alert. This entire episode is a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Dune is like one of the main things in Dune are these ginormous sandworms that are like 500 meters long. They're like, they can eat cities. They're like massive. They live underground, under the sand and stuff like that. So they basically eat these other sand dwelling creatures known as sand trout, like the fish, sand trout.
Mm-hmm.
And when they excrete the bodies of the sand trout, basically like something happens in the sandworm's body that metabolizes the sand trout's body. And when they excrete that, the extreme heat and pressure from the sun of Arrakis turns
Do not say excrete again. I'm so sick of hearing that word.
when
I'm
they
just kidding.
excrete the sand trout
I'm just kidding.
into the sand. The sun, the extreme heat of Arrakis, turns it into spice. It's poop. It's like mushrooms.
Damn.
It's literally like mushrooms.
Oh my god! I didn't know where you were going with that, dude.
Yeah.
Are they
yeah.
actually calling it spice in the movie?
Yeah. Yes, that's
Which
it's
is
spice.
Also a drug,
Bro, Alex,
Yeah.
listen. I'm going to tell you this. This is not like my speculation. This is a major point of the film. The main character trips on spice and realizes he's the Messiah. Like, I mean, this is one of the most mystical movies I've ever seen. Dude.
Yeah. So
I'm begging you to watch it.
basically, this.
Will you watch it? I'm just kidding.
Tell us right now. On
Right
the
now,
podcast.
Bledsoe, that's a hot take.
I have to check it out.
Oh,
Damn it!
my
No, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
You did not.
I have become a meme, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you opened the door wide open.
We set that up.
Yeah,
for him.
you did.
Yeah.
We teed that up for him. No, so the spice is basically everywhere on Arrakis. It's like
It's in the air.
it's in the air.
It's in the
you
air.
can see it.
It blows through
flex.
it's in the sand.
In fact, the natives of Arrakis, their eyes are blue because of the constant. They've evolved over time where the psychedelic is literally being absorbed into their eyes, and their eyes are blue because of it.
God, I want to watch this movie again, dude.
Yeah,
I wish we could watch it again tonight.
I watched it twice in a week. It's just so good. But yeah, so the natives see the spice as this like sacred psychedelic. They use it in these sacred rituals, and they use it. They consider it very it's a sacred thing for them. It's like a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing for them, and very early on in the I guess in the colonization of Arrakis, the Spacing Guild learned that they could travel at like faster than light speeds interdimensionally.
Whoa, that ain't in the movie, dude.
Yeah, it is.
Interdimensional travel? I don't remember it.
I'm sorry. Interstellar, not interdimensional.
I got you.
Like
Yeah.
but
They did say that in the
Yeah,
movie.
sorry,
That it like fuels their space travel.
not interdimensional. But yeah, they can do interstellar travel faster than light speed through manipulation of the spice melange, and so it's abused. They abuse the spice.
Yeah, there's major themes of like the Empire coming down to this like sacred planet. And keep in mind, there's like multiple factions here. There's like the Empire. There's Paul's family, who's like a part of the Empire, but they're truly good.
Yeah.
The Empire's like greedy and evil.
Yeah.
Paul's family's like at the top of the Empire somehow. I mean, I'm sure it'll explain later.
Well,
but they're like
it's just
righteous people.
It's just that House Atreides and the antagonists of the film is
The Harkonnen?
The Harkonnens.
They're like
House
these
Harkonnens.
nasty,
They're just
like
the two
not really fully human freaks.
They're just the two most powerful houses in the Landsraad houses. That's what the order is known as, the Landsraad houses. They're just like the two most powerful families, and they've been in feud for a long time. And it's just that the Empire, basically the Harkonnens make an unfathomable amount of money harvesting and selling the spice, and so they make a ton of money for the Empire.
But there's a major underlying current here, and I'm not like just coming up with this either. I actually read this after researching the film. Like what's his name, Frank Herbert?
Yeah,
the author.
yeah.
Like one of the main points he was trying to make with this, which is so relevant to like real life, is like basically like corporate greed and desecration of basically like Mother Earth. Like natural resources, sacred, ceremonial lands and things like that.
Remember in the film they had those sacred palm trees, and then the Harkonnens attacked and they were on fire. It was like a specific shot showing those trees on fire.
Yeah. And
It-
literally like there's a race of desert people
The Fremen.
the Fremen in the film, and they're like what Nick was talking about. They're the sacred belief system behind the spice, and they're like connected to the planet and the earth. And then the whole point is like the Empire has this greedy, zealous, like they just want to come to the land, they destroy the sacred people, and they just want to greedily
Take all
harvest the spice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like corporate greed versus like sacred worship of nature. There's like real
is-
resonance behind the plot.
It's a parallel to Islam.
Yeah. It's Islamophilic.
It is.
The film is.
It is. Yeah. Frank Herbert was very open about that. Like,
yeah.
The Harkonnens and the Empire, they come and they harvest the spice, and like on their spice harvests, they're constantly attacked by the Fremen.
Yeah.
Trying to stop them from basically desecrating their sacred lands, and because they see everything as sacred. They see the sandworms as sacred. They see the sand itself as sacred. Like they don't even want people there at all. They see it all as sacred. But yeah, so that's kind of a hugely important theme in Dune, is this spiritual psychedelic that is being abused by the Empire and
for money.
Yeah, there's this
big pharma.
Exactly. And kind of the cool like parallel there, or kind of the cool like point there is like it like you said, it's like the desecration of the spiritual for the gain of the material.
Yeah. That's life. That's now.
It all goes back to Gnosticism. It's always going back to Gnosticism.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off. If you, like Alex said in the last episode, it's kind of selling your soul. Like, you're selling the spiritual aspects of yourself for the material gain. It's an exchange, and the cool thing is even though Paul Atreides is a part of this royal family and is sort of destined, like he has a conversation with his dad early in the film where his dad's like, you're the future of House Atreides, and he's like, what if I don't want to be? That's another huge theme throughout the thing, is like kind of denying destiny.
At every turn, he's like denying his destiny, and he starts to realize through his prophecies, as he denies his destiny, he sees visions of him like dying.
Yeah,
like
because the destiny that he's being told is his is to take over for House Atreides, be the new Duke, and eventually possibly even, this is more of a theme in the book, but like possibly even become the Emperor at some point.
It does say that in the end of the movie.
Oh, okay, cool.
Remember, he has the vision of him like,
that's right,
basically saying like, I'm going to challenge the Emperor, kind of.
Yeah.
In so many words.
So and it's wild because as he is denying those material like paths, that material destiny, he begins to have more and more visions about his spiritual destiny, because as he denies those the things from his father, like what if I don't want to be the future of House Atreides or whatever, then he starts having more visions of the Fremen and Chani and of Arrakis and the spice, and it's like he
starts dreaming of the planet before he'd ever been there or seen it.
Yeah, it's
like the movie starts out with him like dreaming about it, and then the crazy, obviously, this spoiler heavy, literally the movie ends, all of his dreams over time came true. And he ends up being one with like the sacred desert people, and he embraces his destiny as their messiah and like joins their whatever
their
you want to
cause.
call it. Yeah, their colony or whatever.
Because I mean he basically he sympathizes. He sees that like for some reason he has this innate value towards the spiritual.
Yeah.
When he saw the trees, he was infatuated with the trees, and at first he was like, shouldn't we save the water for the trees for the men? And the guy was like, oh no, these trees are sacred, and you could see that moved him, and he's constantly infatuated with the spiritual. He's infatuated with like the Bene Gesserit and his mother and the whole prophecy there and all this stuff. And I mean, he even mentions like, what if I'm not the chosen one?
Yeah,
or
like
whatever.
I don't want to be your little freak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and when he did that, his vision started to increase.
He started to dream of himself dying.
That's sort of it's really it was like
when he feared his destiny, he literally had prophecies of himself dying.
Yeah, and in fact, it's really wild.
I don't want to spoil this for Alex's sake because I really feel like he might actually watch the film, and for the listener, I'm not going to spoil this part, but I will say the action in this film is top notch.
Oh yeah,
it's not just like a mystical little drama. Like it's a sick action movie. And in the very end, dude, the action is incredible.
Yeah.
And in the end, dude, when he finally embraces his destiny and he realizes that like he's not destined to fail, he was only seeing that because he was in fear. Nick knows exactly what I'm talking about. At that fateful moment at the end of the film, dude.
He becomes Neo.
Dude.
He straight up
when he realizes he's the one, dude.
Yeah.
He goes ham.
Yeah, it's like game over. Like literally, it's like the scene from The Matrix where Neo realizes he's the one.
He's the one,
and then no one can touch him.
Oh my god, that gave me chills.
Yeah, it's literally just like
the whole movie, all the story, all the lore, all the plot, whatever. I feel like built up to that moment.
Yeah.
All this epic space travel, these emperors and dynasties, all that crap didn't matter because what I got from the movie was all that was to like trick you with all this stuff. And then that final moment when he locks in with his destiny and he does the thing that he was afraid he had to do and he does it, dude. You realize like this dude is a gangster. He's the baddest dude in the whole galaxy. He's not a little wimp like you thought.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy, man. He's like Space Neo.
Yeah.
He's Space Jesus. I don't know. I thought it was cool, but
Space Jesus.
Yo, seriously, like at the ending was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in real life, would that be like, because from the way I'm interpreting it is confidence conquers the fear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's kind of like,
You know what? Let me answer that with a quote from the film.
Okay.
Do you remember when they're in the when he and his mom are like escaping and like they're like in that little dragonfly ship and they're in the storm.
Yeah.
And remember they're twirling.
Dude.
And then what does he say? He starts to have a vision, a prophetic vision. And what did the vision say? Don't fight nature, go with the flow.
It literally says go with the flow.
It literally, he starts to have prophetic visions.
Bro, he straight up let Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah, he literally did.
He flew into a sandstorm and just went.
He literally started to have prophetic visions about how to like walk the path of his destiny. And literally what was told to him was don't fight the flow of destiny.
Go with the flow.
Go with it. Float down that stream, dude.
Yeah.
And when he did that, he survived a very epic, brutal sandstorm. And it was a very pivotal moment in the film because he started to realize like, he's mystical.
That was like the moment in both the book and the movie where he that's one of the, there's multiple, but that's one of the moments where he kind of like sees how fear, it destroys you. It is the little death that brings obliteration.
It's not even about confidence. It's about like
letting go.
It's about letting go. That's perfect.
Letting go.
That's what he does.
Literally let go.
He literally lets go.
Yeah.
It'll make sense when you watch the movie. But like that's what he learns. He has to let go of fear, and his destiny is going to play out how it was meant to. Like that's just written in the stars.
Mm-hmm.
Your destiny doesn't play out because you fight it. You just got to let go. You got to wake up every day and realize there's some master plan for your life that you're not aware of. Everybody has a destiny.
Yeah, you have to have confidence in the master plan. You have to have confidence that that's there in order to let go, I think.
Yeah, you have to have confidence.
Yeah,
you have to know that
destiny's a real thing.
That destiny is real. And exactly. Yeah, so for sure, confidence in the master plan, in the grand scheme, in your own destiny.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Confidence is great.
Yeah, it's just another way of saying, the courage to let go.
Yeah, they definitely go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say letting go, particularly in that movie, was like at every turn, he just wouldn't let go of what he wanted.
Another pivotal moment where he let go was during one of the spice harvests. It was actually, I think, the only spice harvest they show in the movie where it malfunctioned and they were trying to get all those guys out there before they all got eaten by the sandworm.
Yeah. That's when he tripped on the spice.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. He goes out to save them and he walks out and he goes to put his mask up and then he goes and he's like, wait, hang on. Maybe I don't pull my mask up. Maybe I just kind of see what.
Dude, you remember in that moment when Duncan Idaho came up behind him in the sandstorm?
It wasn't Duncan.
It wasn't Duncan.
It was Gurney Halleck.
I'm sorry. You're right. It was the Josh Brolin character.
I recognize your footsteps, old
man.
Yeah,
but like he psychically knew it was him. That was cool.
It was 100%. You know what? I picked up on that the second time around. Yeah, because there's this catastrophic, like all this machinery going, this loud sandstorm. It's extremely loud and all this stuff. But in the moment when Paul is tripping on spice, because he goes out of the Thopter to try to save these guys when one of their harvests goes wrong. So he's trying to save these guys and get them in the Thopter to get them out of there alive. And when he walks out, he goes to put his mask up so that he doesn't breathe in the spice. but he doesn't. He doesn't know why, but he just doesn't. And he starts breathing the spice in, and immediately he's flooded with visions and all this stuff. And then, yeah, you see him kind of collapse to his knees in the sand, and it's extremely loud, but then it gets quiet for a second, and you can hear him say, I recognize your footsteps, old man. And it was his basically combat teacher walking up behind him in the sand to go and, basically, because he's like in a trance. He's in like a psychedelic trance.
Yeah.
So he goes to pull him out of it and save him.
But earlier in the film, he actually said that when the dude walked up.
Yes.
When they were like having a lesson. So that was profound, because in that moment he was in a psychic transient state, and in a crazy ass sandstorm on the desert, he knew that it was him approaching. It was showing that the spice was opening his mind. Now this is gonna be a tangent, but I really feel like it's relevant. Now when I went on my honeymoon in Las Vegas, I toured this attraction called Omega Mart. Do you remember that? The viral TikTok trend?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you care if I tell you about that?
No.
Okay. Because like for somebody who's never been, if you're near Vegas or you have a trip and you're going soon or whatever, major spoiler alert, you probably don't want this spoiled. But honestly, it's not a big deal. It's an artistic attraction. But so Omega Mart is this exhibit in Las Vegas. It's about 2 hours, $50. Worth it. So when you get there, you show up and it's like a grocery store. I promise this will be relevant. So when you get there, it's like a grocery store, right? And you know going in that it's not truly a grocery store. By the time you've bought the ticket and you're there, you know this. But I'm just assuming there's many people listening that have no idea what the hell this is. And you walk in there and it looks like a grocery store. And as you walk through the grocery store, you start to see things that are out of place. And these are real items you can buy. Like it's an immersive, interactive exhibit. So you can actually like buy the drinks, buy the food, buy this, the shirts, whatever. And there are certain things that are out of place. And when you interact with them, it opens secret doorways.
Yeah.
And as you go through the secret doorways, you enter these like psychedelic worlds and other dimensions. And there's like aliens, and the long story behind that is they contacted I guess like 50 to 100 psychedelic artists who collaborated on this project. The one name I remember is a dude by the name of Alex Gray. You ever seen you know who I'm talking about?
Very familiar, yeah.
The famous DMT artist?
I'm not familiar.
He does.
You're
a lot
familiar
of
with his art, I promise.
He does a lot of like vascular and
he's like the most famous DMT artist. If you Google DMT art right now, his pops up. I promise you, dude. You've seen his art. Everyone has seen his art. And he's one of the guys that worked on this exhibit, and many other people. And, dude, one of the let me see real quick. Your phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's him. That's Alex Gray. That's him.
Yeah.
Bro, he was one of the people that made Omega Mart, like the art. And anyway, one of the rooms is like an entire installation of those kinds of heads for him. And like the whole, I'm really skimming over the experience here because it's a 2-hour immersive exhibit. But, there's a whole backstory because it's also role play, and like the people that work there role play as being part of Omega Mart, and it has multiple layers of subterfuge. Like on the surface level, it's just a little exhibit you pay $50 for. As you get deeper into it, you realize like Las Vegas locals have been like 10 to 12 times and they still haven't figured out all the mysteries.
Yeah.
And like you go around every corner and there's so many mysteries packed. Like even if it's a staff door, they never tell you this kind of stuff, but you're supposed to pull the knobs. There's so many secrets. Literal like little secret doorways in the corner, you know what I mean? And massive rooms. And the whole point is you find out there's a backstory behind Omega Mart. And the backstory is it really interdimensional aliens? Or did Omega Mart leak psychedelics into the water supply and their corporate employees are just tripping out? Or is it a mix of both and the corporate employees are tripping on the psychedelics and is causing their minds to go through dimensional portals? Like it'll make sense for somebody who's been to Omega Mart, but there's a whole story. As you walk through and view the exhibits, you start to hear keywords and phrases and see little like secret post-it notes and shit, that there's this overall story. And like as you walk through one of the rooms, this breathtaking exhibit with like holograms on the wall of like psychedelic DMT angels meditating and shit, you see this giant prop that's a barrel and it's leaking this chemical, and in the room the floor is lit up and it's like psychedelic colors and it's like toxic radiation. And as you walk around other exhibits, you find out like the story behind it was Omega Mart actually did leak psychedelics. But the key that I gathered from this is that the artists are telling you that beneath the surface of this thing, that these psychedelics are taking people's minds to other dimensions. Kind of
Yeah,
like that's what
yeah.
Dune is pretty much about.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, how, we mentioned it like erodes the walls between this dimension and
Exactly.
the next.
I'm just saying, dude, like for someone who's never done psychedelics, but I've seen beings of light my entire life, and I know that there's another reality, there's another dimension. It just makes me curious. Like all these people who've tripped, like Terrence McKenna, like Paul Atreides, like Alex Gray, and all these other people who are trying to tell us, like they've done DMT, they've done spice, they've done mushrooms, they've done whatever, and they're trying to tell us that there's like some other dimension that's accessible through this. I'm really curious if done like I personally know people who've gone to South America many times in Mexico and done ayahuasca.
Yeah, that's some super trippy stuff. That's like basically like liquid DMT, right?
Yes, and like again, I'm very open about this. I have met the people who basically were like developing the secret spy program on behalf of the United States Army. Personally told me they've been to South America over 100 times and tripped on ayahuasca, and it opens their psychic abilities and whatnot. I'm just curious if there's a correlation between these ancient sacred substances that have been very stigmatized by big pharma.
Yeah.
And like awakening of consciousness in some, global scale in the age of Aquarius. I don't know. It's just where my intuition leads me. And Dune blew my mind for that reason, because these thoughts have been on my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like what the movie's about. It's like opening your mind to your soul's destiny.
Yeah.
Dude, even like it's really cool because, as I mentioned earlier, the director Denis Villeneuve is just a massive, couldn't be a bigger fan of Dune. And he said two things that like really hit me. One, the first thing that he said is that Dune is a psychedelic. He said it's a psychedelic story.
Yeah.
It is a
and that
story.
Honestly, that is not even like a secret when you watch it. It's not esoteric.
No.
You don't have to even look that up. Like that is so self-evident.
Dude, yeah, in the first
film.
like 15 minutes of the movie, Paul is like watching like a video book about Arrakis, and they say it's a psychedelic. Like the spice melange is.
That's the beauty of this film, dude. Is like like in the past, we watch all these Illuminati whatever films, and it's like it's secret, and you have to like decode the symbolism.
No, this just gives it to you.
This literally spoon feeds it to you. Mm-hmm. There's no secret about it.
Yeah,
like this shit. Like remember the monologue of Midnight Mass? We talked about this on that Twitter live stream. How it's like this shit is.
They just give it to you.
They just give it to you, dude. Like,
they basically straight up said collective consciousness, like in the last episode. It was really wild. Yeah, but it is not hidden, and it's not hidden in the book. And that was Denis Villeneuve's big thing. Was he said when making this movie, I wanted to make it so that if Frank Herbert himself watched it, he would have not a single problem with it. He was like, I wanted this to be true to the book to the T. And it so is. But the other really cool thing that Denny said was that the story of Dune is the triumph of the human spirit.
Yeah.
It's like it's the hero's journey. It's the journey of the soul. He straight up says it's the triumph of the human spirit. It's over fear. It's the human spirit, the human soul defeating fear.
Dude, I just have this intuition in my mind, like I obviously have some fringe beliefs, and that's okay.
You do?
Yeah.
Like what? Maybe we should do a podcast about it.
Maybe we should. You know why I hesitated there? Because I was thinking, like, should I say some of the stuff I've never even said on the podcast?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I have some really esoteric.
We got to give it to people in breadcrumbs. We got to.
Yeah. I mean, you got to put it like, let's just put it plainly. I've seen these beings over. I'm tired of playing this little thing. Like everyone's like, you don't really know what they are. It's like, I mean, I've seen them in my room. Like I've looked face to face with an entity in my room. And my father has looked face to face with an entity, and they told him they are beings of higher consciousness from another dimension. Anyway, that's not here nor there, but I get sick of this like pretending, But anyway, so damn, where was I going with that?
I don't know, man.
I don't either.
Sick.
Oh. One of my like really out there beliefs is I really think there's some structure, some pyramid-like power structure. And I don't mean a literal pyramid. I mean metaphorical.
Right.
You know, like when you look at like pyramid schemes and stuff like that. There's a pyramid-like structure of power, you know, running basically society. I mean, that's so easy to prove, dude. You have billionaires and trillionaires like the Rothschilds and well, when I say trillionaires, like the families combined wealth, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, even the Bezos, the Gates, all these super rich people, they obviously run society. You know, it's self-evident. You know, now you got Mark Zuckerberg trying to make another layer of the Matrix.
Yeah,
the meta,
straight up.
The metaverse. By the way, you log onto your Instagram now, it says Meta. You notice that?
Yeah.
They've already made that switch.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, low key, Bledsoe said so. Hot take prediction. I think the metaverse is going to be major as far as like expanding consciousness. Even though it's going to be like mostly a negative thing, you know, it's going to like trap a lot of people's consciousness. But I think that kind of thing is necessary for the overall evolution of society. You got to go through the bad to get to the good.
So you're talking like hyper collapse almost.
Yeah.
Like forcible collapse.
Yeah. Like,
Well,
okay. Yeah. That's the only way I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the internet itself. Like the internet could be looked at from a lens of an extremely damaging negative thing, but
it has a lot of positives too.
Look at all the beautiful positive things that are possible now through the internet.
Let me rephrase this. Yeah,
this
for sure,
podcast
dude.
would not be
Let me
possible.
rephrase this so it's a little more palatable. I think that what the metaverse is going to do to collective consciousness is going to be the next level, like what the internet has done. You know,
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be all evil or all good, but I think it's going to be a major change in consciousness.
Yeah.
They're definitely they're encoding this way in a certain, or this concept in a certain way. But anyway, my out there belief is that these people at the top are using art, like video games, movies, books, et cetera, the ones that really resonate. They are using this shit to resonate with consciousness. And I think Dune is genuinely one of the most profound films ever created.
Yeah, and Frank Herbert, the author, is like pretty open about that in saying like
what?
In saying like, you know, he's telling universal truths in his book.
Does he really say that?
Oh yeah,
that just says it right there.
He was a super out of the box thinker, like extremely out of the box thinker.
It's the 60s, bro. He's probably doing acid.
I mean, the book is about psychedelics.
That
so
shit
yeah.
literally came out in the New Age movement.
Yeah,
when you think about it,
I could totally see it. So
yeah. 100%, man.
Yeah, I could do 10 episodes on Dune, but I'm gonna. We should end it there for our audience.
Oh, is it time to end?
It is.
I was just getting started, man.
We'll do another one in premium content. Bye, guys.
We got all day tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Weird things happen in the backyard of the Bledsoe house.